Given the education, the beauty, popularity, and potential that both Carla Hughes and Avis Banks possess, the world should have come to know their names for far, far different reasons. Instead, their story became a national tragedy. The case received widespread attention, covered on major shows like Snapped, Dateline, and widely discussed across YouTube. Carla Hughes' 2009 capital trial was also televised. Nearly 20 years have passed since Avis Banks and her unborn son were brutally taken from this world, yet haunting questions remain for some. Was Carla Hughes truly so obsessed with Keon Pittman that she could commit such a horrific act? Could she have harbored such intense rage toward a woman who had never wronged her? Did Keon Pittman somehow evade responsibility, or did he manipulate Carla into believing that carrying out this crime would bring them together forever? This is another Anna B Deep Dive. This content is for educational purposes and adults only. You can always find more information in the description section. Now let's get into it. On November 29, 2006, there were several questionable moves made by Keon Pittman, the fiancé of Avis Banks. The couple were expecting their first child and due to tie the knot in January. After coming home, finding 5-month pregnant Avis covered in blood on their garage floor, Keon said he ran up to her, tried waking her, but she wouldn't wake up. She would not respond. He hugged and kissed her and then went inside to see if anyone was still in the house. But then, the first phone call Keon thought to make was to Carla Hughes, the woman that he was creeping with. He called the woman that he was sleeping with to tell her that somebody had done something to Avis.
Why did you call Carla?
Because I was looking for anyone to come. At that point, I didn't care. I just wanted someone there.
And that's not it. He still didn't call for help. Instead, he ran to the neighbor's house, asking them to call 911 instead of doing so himself.
You say you heard knocking on the door. Was it loud?
Very loud.
And you could hear somebody screaming?
Yes.
Was that loud?
It was loud.
Though Avis had laid on that floor, sliced and shot for several hours, it was too late to save her or her son. But still, why didn't Keon call the police?
The question and the statement that has everybody here at the courthouse talking, he says he didn't call 911 on his cell phone. He says he ran next door and used the neighbor's phone to call 911. He says his phone is a nationwide phone and can't make local calls.
We all know in cases like this, the spouse is the first potential suspect until proven otherwise. Keon, along with his suspicious movement, definitely placed him on the suspect list, but he wasn't trying to hear none of that. At the police station, he provided an initial statement, but when detectives wanted to take the questioning to another level and needed him to sign a Miranda warning, his demeanor quickly changed. He became defensive, and during multiple phone calls he made while alone in that room, all he was concerned about was himself. Keon had refused to sign the Miranda warning.
I came home. I knew something was up. My phone never rang when I was at practice. It never rang.
Do it right now. Just ask you a few questions.
I don't like this at all. These motherfuckers think I had something to do with the shit, I believe. I'd rather have a lawyer here or someone, but I'm not gonna sign that because you could easily go back and write in charge.
Detectives couldn't get any more answers from him, but they sure did secure a warrant to collect Keon's blood-stained clothing and were able to swab his hands for gunshot residue prior to releasing him. Born on June 12, 1981, to a mother who could not afford to raise her, Carly Hughes was adopted by her uncle and aunt, Carl and Linda Hughes. Growing up in Greenville, Mississippi, she lived a rather privileged and very active childhood. She was an honor student who was on the mayor's youth council for her hometown. She participated in many area beauty pageants, also competing in Miss National Teen Pageant and Miss Teen America Pageant. At the age of 14, she was crowned the Mississippi State Champion for Tennessee walking horses. Carla's achievements continued after high school. She earned both her bachelor's and master's degrees, and upon returning back to Greenville, Mississippi, she taught kindergarten until she accepted a lead language arts teacher position at Chaston High School in Jackson, Mississippi. Though this position would increase her income, Carla had to move quickly. The new school year was about to start, and this forced her to leave her young son behind with her parents in Greenville. It was August 2006 when she met fellow Chaston High School teacher and basketball coach Keon Pittman. Keon was well liked and described as a ladies' man by some. He and Carla quickly became friends, and that friendship quickly turned into a sexual relationship. Carla had also become a regular at the bar that Keon worked at when he wasn't coaching basketball or teaching. Meanwhile, 27-year-old Avis Banks had no idea the man that she was preparing to spend the rest of her life with was having what he described as a sexual adventure with Carla Hughes, who Avis only knew to be her fiance's coworker. Avis and Keon met at a gym in 2004. The two seemed to have the same interests, especially working with kids, and they instantly hit it off. Their relationship progressed and the two moved in together. They relocated to Old Square Court in Ridgeland, where Avis got a job working at a daycare center. In June of 2006, she became pregnant. By fall, they were engaged after Keon asked Avis to marry him. At this point, they had been together for 2 years and they were planning their wedding for early 2007. Though Avis was excited about the future, her family members weren't so sure if Keon shared that same excitement. The last time Avis's family saw her alive was Thanksgiving, 6 days before her death, to be exact. Keon, Avis, and her family members all traveled to Houston, Texas to spend Thanksgiving at Avis's sister's house. Everyone was enjoying one another, having a good time, eating, laughing, talking, but Keon seemed to be detached and didn't look too excited. On top of that, he kept getting these phone calls. When he was confronted about the nonstop calls, he said it was his mother and that she wanted he and Avis to come and visit her as well. The Saturday after Thanksgiving, the couple were visiting his family. Carla had also traveled to the same area. She rented a hotel room where Keon had met her. They had sex and she wanted Keon to stay the night. He refused. Carla became upset and things ended on a bad note between the two. The next day, reportedly, Carla told Keon that some things were going to change. Though Keon testified that things were distant between he and Carla, 4 days later, November 29th, Keon was back at Carla's house, dropping groceries off. Why? He said to keep them cool in her refrigerator while he coached basketball practice. He left Carla's house between 5:10 and 5:15, making it on time for practice that started at 5:30 and ended at 7:45. Once he left practice, he went to Carla's house, stayed for about 20 to 30 minutes, picked up the groceries, and headed home. He said that Carla was unusually quiet. On his way home, he called Avis, but she didn't answer, and this concerned him. The last time he had spoken to his pregnant fiancée was at 5:12 and 5:36, according to court records. When Keon pulled up at the home, he entered through the garage door, finding Avis with her pants pulled down and blood everywhere. Police arrived at 8:46 p.m. to find Keon holding Avis's dead body. He was told to back up and the investigation ensued. Family members also showed up on scene. Avis's mother said Keon called her and said, "Y'all better get over here. Something done happened to Avis." When they arrived on the street, it was flooded with law enforcement. On scene, Keon told the family that somebody had broken into the home and killed Avis. He appeared to be distraught at that time. Meanwhile, Avis's family was having a hard time thinking who in the world would have wanted to hurt their beloved Avis. Whomever they were was filled with rage. The police described the attack as an obvious crime of passion committed by a person who wanted both Avis and her son dead. The autopsy report showed Avis had been shot 4 times, stabbed 3, and slashed once. Though her pants were pulled down, there were no signs of a sexual assault. Police concluded that she arrived home between 5:50 and 6 p.m. She was killed shortly after her arrival. The back door to the home had been forced open and there were 2 shoe prints on the exterior side of the glass door. Blood was smeared along the wall, but no shell casings were found. It looked as if a burglary had occurred, but it was later determined that nothing was missing from the home. The results from Keon's gunshot residue kit showed that both of his hands had a single particle on them, but an expert later testified that those particles could have come from him touching Avis's body. Keon would remain a suspect until his alibi checked out, that he was, in fact, at basketball practice at the time of the murder. Keon had given an additional statement to detectives and admitted to having an affair with Carla Hughes. This would lead detectives to speak to his co-workers both at the bar and at the middle school he worked at. They learned that Keon, he had several girlfriends. Detectives actually spoke with Carla on December 1st while at the school. During this conversation, Carla denied any romantic involvement with Keon, saying that they were just friends. However, later that evening, Carla went to the police station and provided a second statement, this time admitting that there was a sexual relationship. Carla also denied owning or having access to a gun. They had no murder weapon. Keon's alibi had checked out. Now police were at a dead end. They needed some sort of break in this case. All while Avis's family is laying her to rest, trying to deal with the fact that she is no longer with them. At her funeral 2 days after her death, Keon showed up. As he was viewing her body, he starts to cry. But Avis's sister, she wasn't moved by his performance. She felt that somebody that Keon was dealing with had killed her sister and her nephew and confronted Keon, resulting in Keon being escorted out of Avis's funeral. Then, out of nowhere, an attorney representing a man named Patrick Nash wanted to meet with detectives to turn over a gun that may have been used to kill Avis Banks and her son.
She claimed that someone had tried to break in on her. And then in the interim, she asked Patrick about borrowing his gun.
I gave her the gun and knife at the same time. Same day, I checked on the barrel and
A bullet. It was empty. When she picked it up, it was 5 bullets in there.
Patrick Nash was Carla Hughes' cousin. This exchange occurred 3 days prior to the murder on November 26. The Sunday, Carla told Keon things would be different. You remember after she got upset with him for not spending the night with her at the hotel? The night of the murder, Carla called her cousin Patrick and told him that someone had killed Avis. That call made Patrick a bit uneasy. Carla returned the gun to Patrick the evening of December 1st, 2006, which was after her interview with the police. Carla never returned the hunting knife. According to court records, Carla's uncle had asked her if the gun was involved in the murder of Avis, and in response, Carla kind of dropped her head and shrugged her shoulders. Her uncle had perceived that as she really didn't know or affirmative. That gun was turned over on December 5th. The following day, Carla was arrested and charged with accessory after the fact. Afterwards, a search warrant was obtained for Carla's place of residence, which police executed on December 8th.
Search warrant at 1701, the home of Carla Hughes. This is the upper level bedroom. It's just the closet.
The police seized 3 items during the search: a pair of women's size 10 tread-safe shoes, a photo of Keon that was in Carla's nightstand, and a handwritten note or poem with the initials of KP on it. The shoes had a tread pattern that appeared to match the shoe prints from the back door at Keon and Avis's home. Testing at the Mississippi Crime Lab showed that tread pattern on the soles of those shoes was definitely a match to the impressions lifted from the crime scene. Test projectiles from the Rossi .38 caliber gun turned in by Carla's cousin were compared to the projectiles that were removed from Avis's body and revealed that the gun had fired the bullets that killed her. That same day, December 8th, 2006, the charges filed against Carla Hughes were upgraded to 2 counts of capital murder. She was formally indicted on those charges on July 30th, 2008. Carla's capital murder trial began in October of 2009. She was represented by an experienced tobacco litigation attorney who appears to have had the majority of experiences in civil law. He was also a family friend. The jury of 9 women and 3 men chosen to hear the case were sequestered at a Ridgeland hotel on orders to have no contact with family or friends or access to media of any kind. Carla's attorney spent most of his opening statement trying to point the finger at Keon as the person who could have killed Avis and his unborn son, telling jurors that he could have killed his pregnant fiancée and then pinned the crime on his lover. In that same statement, the attorney tried painting the picture that Keon cared nothing for Avis and planned to leave her once their son was born. Evidence presented by Carla and her defense team showed that at one point, yes, Keon had keys to her house, and he had admitted to borrowing her shoes occasionally. One of the defense witnesses called testified that Keon was not inside the gym the entire time during basketball practice, as he had claimed. However, that witness was impeached with his earlier statement to the police that Keon was present during the entire practice. Yes, Keon, an average-looking man, somehow was a charming, well-liked ladies' man that was cheating. But did that give him the motive to kill? Whether he liked Avis or not, did he possess the amount of rage to ambush her, shoot her 4 times, once in her head and leg, twice in her chest, stab her 3 times, and slash her neck? Though Carla did not take the stand in her defense, jurors were shown her interview with the police.
You 2 romantically involved.
He's not a boyfriend. He's just a friend. Of a
What you
guy.
say?
There's nothing sexual with him.
Okay,
Nothing.
okay. So I understand.
No, nothing. People may have saw us being affectionate towards each other. But at the most, they may have just saw a little kissing. But as far as just like this full out blown romantic love affair, that's not what it was. It really wasn't.
Were you 2 involved with each other?
Yes.
Well, why did you lie to me earlier?
I didn't lie to you.
Yes, I simply asked if y'all were romantically involved. You said no.
I said we were close friends.
In addition to the gun that was confirmed to be the murder weapon, the sneakers matching the prints left at the crime scene with Avis's blood on them, and the additional evidence obtained from Carla's home, cell phone data was also presented as evidence against the former beauty pageant competitor. A radio frequency engineer for AT&T testified that records showed the calls Keon Pittman made between 5:12 p.m. and 7:18 p.m. were all associated with the cell tower coverage near Carla's house and Chastain Middle School. The only calls associated with tower coverage near his home were made between 8:41 and 8:56 p.m. Carla's phone data, on the other hand, showed that at 5:37 p.m., she answered a call that hit on a cell tower located on Lake Harbor Drive. This tower had a 2-mile radius. Avis and Keon's home was within the range of this tower. Records further showed that at 6:04 p.m., Carla placed a call within the radius of this same cell tower located on Lake Harbor Drive and had terminated that call within the same radius. Her next cell phone activity at 6:07 p.m. was outside the range of this particular tower. The prosecution argued that this evidence placed Carla near the crime scene at the time of the murders. Because the police had determined that Avis's murder had occurred shortly after her arrival between 5:50 and 6 o'clock p.m., these cell phone records implicated Carla. The defense argued that Carla had a friend that lived in the area. But the prosecution were quick on their feet, and that friend was called to the stand and testified that to her knowledge, Carla had not visited her house that night. There was no other evidence explaining Carla's presence inside the range of the cell tower near Avis and Keon's home at the time of the murders. When Keon took the stand, he described his relationship with Carla as a sexual adventure. Keon also testified that he and Carla had spent a weekend in Memphis and admitted that they had had sex several times at the home he shared with his fiancée. He said his relationship with Carla moved very fast, and Carla did ask him several times if he would leave Avis. He said that he told her that that would never happen.
Were you going to leave Avis Banks for Carla Hughes, or how did you view the long-term prospects for your relationship with Carla Hughes?
There was no long-term. It was sexual, caught up in the moment. Speaking of myself, there never was a long-term plan with Carla.
I think we all can put 2 and 2 together going back to Thanksgiving when Keon continued to get those back-to-back phone calls. We know that wasn't his mother. That was Carla. She was jealous that Keon was not with her. And when he didn't spend the night with her that Saturday night at the hotel, her jealousy turned into rage. Despite her educational success and various achievements throughout her life, Carla didn't have much luck when it came to her love life. She had an unexpected loss 2 years prior. Days before she was set to wed her son's father, he left her. She was 2 months pregnant and forced to become a single mother to her son. Could this have been a motive to kill? Was she willing to commit murder before another man walked out of her life? A man that wasn't even hers. On October 12, 2009, the case was handed over to the jury after 7 days of testimony. The following day, after 8 hours of deliberation, the jury had reached their verdict.
The court, having reviewed the verdicts, finds that they are in the one of the forms allowed by the instructions. If the defendant would please rise. Relative to count 1, the verdict is, we, the jury, find the defendant, Carla Hughes, guilty of capital murder as charged in count 1 of the indictment. Relative to count 2, the verdict is, we, the jury, find the defendant, Carla Hughes, guilty of capital murder as charged in count 2 of the indictment. Mr. Walls, would you like the jury poll?
Facing the death penalty, it was time for Carla to now learn her fate.
Before Carla's mom took the stand, she told her daughter, hold on to your faith, listen to God. Carla broke down several times when her mentors, a teacher and her pastor, told the jury why they should spare her life. Several jury members even started to cry when Carla's parents took the stand and told them why their daughter should live. Now, let's take a look at what happened inside this courtroom today.
I would ask the jury to be merciful unto Carla, a child, a young woman who's had some struggles, as all young women do, and those who are here who have children, you know, we all have struggles. And she has so much to give.
My thing to you is, I'm not asking you, I'm pleading with you to spare my daughter's life.
Don't forget, there's 2 people here who've already had the death penalty imposed. They weren't here to speak to you today. That's why I'm here.
So I ask you to spare her life because when you kill her, there's nothing you can do to bring her back. And if it's later determined that somebody else committed this crime, you won't be able to correct that.
And several witnesses talked about Carla Hughes' 5-year-old son today. I'm told by family members he's in the custody of Carla's parents right now. Now, I'll tell you, everybody's standing outside here at the Madison County Courthouse just waiting for the jury to come back with a decision. We're expecting a decision by tonight.
All right, as to count 1, the verdict or the sentence is, we, the jury, find that the defendant should be sentenced to life imprisonment without parole. As to count 2, the sentence is, we, the jury, find the defendant should be sentenced to life imprisonment without parole.
Carla was sentenced to serve 2 consecutive life sentences without parole. In August the following year, a Madison County judge denied her request for a new trial. 2 years later, June 21st, 2012, the Mississippi Supreme Court affirmed her conviction after Carla raised 6 issues on appeal. All 6 of those issues were all found to be without error. Carla Hughes is currently serving her 2 consecutive life sentences at the Delta Correctional Facility in Greenwood, Mississippi.
It was a huge accomplishment for Avis to graduate from college. My grandmother was extremely proud because she always wanted to go to college but never got the opportunity. So she was telling everyone at church about how her granddaughter had just graduated from college.
My dad was very, very proud. It was one of her many accomplishments. It made me want to follow in her footsteps.
She would always talk about wanting to open up her own daycare and wanting to make a difference in a lot of children's lives. And so she started at a daycare that was low income. So she was able to engage with kids who were not as well off as others. I can't think of a bad thing to say about her. Like, she was just well loved by everybody that knew her.
My dad would tell us nobody would ever be perfect enough for my girls.
Condolences to the Banks family, and may Avis Banks continue to rest in peace.